All right, the Bucks. It is Talking Buccaneers with me, Fumane, ahead of Orlando Pirates game against Magesi in the Carling Cup. And yeah, football is back. It's been a long wait. We all want to watch our mighty Buccaneers play, and finally we get to go and watch them. I think it's an exciting one for most people. The fact that it's on a Saturday, 3 p.m. A lot of fans are going to be able to travel and come and watch, the mighty Buccaneers and still have time to travel back to their places. So I'm happy for you Buccaneers who are going to be able to travel to the stadium. I'm going to be there. In the way of, magnitude of occasion, I don't want to lie. I don't think this is the biggest of games. It doesn't feel like, well, one thing for sure about Pirates games is that every game is a big game because we all love to come and watch these players play now because of how good everything is going in the club. But I think, in way of like the competition and the opposition, with all due respect, they don't rank high up there, both things. I beg your pardon. I do think that the Carling Cup, as much as it's an exciting opportunity for some teams like Kaizer Chiefs to try and win a trophy, which we all know they're not going to win one except a grade 7 project. But if you as Orlando Pirates, I know the club, the coach, and the players will not admit this because they're professionals. But if you had them rank, the order of importance of all the competitions we're playing in, CAF Champions League, the League, MTN 8 Nedbank Cup, as well as the Carling Cup, with all due respect, again, I think the Carling Cup will be last in the pecking order in terms of which one they want to win, which trophies they really want to win. But also, I think even the opposition, if you check the motivation of the players, if you could by any way check the motivation of the players, which teams they are more motivated to play against, I really think that Magesi is really right at the bottom for most players. And I'm saying this with all due respect, and I'm saying that the team, the players and the head coach will not admit this, but you and I know that's a fact, that is true. But having said that though, I do hope that within the team, there's some sort of messaging going around. I bet it's already there. One of the pastimes actually for me is to listen to a Jose Rivero conference, and I think he talked about it in the conference, saying something along the lines of he doesn't need to motivate players for this game. That job has already been done. That's been done. They don't need him to motivate them. But I do hope that that message is being emphasized to say these are the games. Especially in the league. I know this is not the league, but the Magesis, these are the games where we've previously slipped up in the past, and we want to make sure that we tighten the bolts and nuts in these particular games to reassert our dominance in the league. We're going to have to win these ones. But that's in the league. Cup competition is a different thing. I know we are the cup specialists. We've won 5 trophies in the space of sort of 2.5 years, which is a massive feat by Orlando Pirates. And yeah, we are the cup specialists, but I think with the start of every competition, whether you like it or not as Orlando Pirates fan, I know some fans will not admit it, there's still that air of uncertainty as to, are we going to go all the way even in this one? You wonder where the bad performances are going to suddenly spring up and then because for sure that we're going to lose some games. I think that's one thing every Orlando Pirates fan who is honest is going to admit to himself or herself, to say that as much as things are good and it doesn't feel like we're going to lose, but at some point we're going to lose games. Which games are we going to lose? And, it might be in this competition. It might be a Magesi. I'm not saying it will be. It might be one. But maybe to get into the game a little bit, I know there's a lot of talk, and what I want to do with this episode actually, because of, I can openly admit that I'm not very, I don't know so much about Magesi. And that's something I can admit. I think part of what's going to make me know them is watching them against the Pirates, the Sundowns, and all these other teams. But so far they've played, I think, 4 games. They, I think they played Polokwane. They might have played Golden Arrows. That's the one game they won. I recently played Royal AM and drew there. I know they lost another game. It might be Skukune, something like that. So they've lost 2 games. They've drawn 1 recently against Royal AM. They won their game against Golden Arrows, but I haven't really had a chance to follow them thoroughly to give something respectable for you guys who are tuning in to hear my thoughts. So I'm going to do a bit different. I will speak about them just now, but an overview of what I want to do in this episode is really I want to talk about squad issues around Orlando Pirates as pertaining to this game and moving forward. But my sort of takeaway with Magesi, with what I've seen so far, I've actually been quite surprised with how, just how careless they are at the back. One thing I always think, especially with teams that come up, with teams that get promoted into this division, which is the Betway Premiership, the elite professional division in South Africa, with teams that come up from lower division. Something I'm always surprised with, or at least something I always expect from them. I always expect these things. I expect that that you're not going to have the best quality players, and you're also not going to attract them. And so I think to give yourself a fighting chance, because really you can't fight in the way of quality, I always expect at least you can be fitter than your opposition. You want to be fit. And so, you want to be threatening teams by the fact that you just are able to run for 90 minutes. And especially in these low motivation games for teams like Pirates, you want to be running till the 96th minute and not letting up and not giving your oppositions a break. Or maybe if you can't fight in that regard, you want to be tight at the back. You want to make sure that, there are no gaps in between you, through you especially. You just want to be, very tight at the back and try not to ship goals. Eventually you will, because the quality aspect of it. But, best you can, I think you can't be caught wanting in the way of discipline at the back. I think that's catastrophic if a small team, with all due respect, or a recently promoted team is quite careless at the back. They can't be found wanting tactically. I think they have to be tactically disciplined, especially defensively. Or what you want to do is you want to be great at set pieces. Because that's just, sort of a physical aspect of the game, which physically, I know it's biology, sort of just biology. You could have the tallest players in your team, that kind of thing. And you want to take advantage of that because you could score 1 or 2 set pieces and those could be points for you. And so I always wonder, or maybe not wonder, I'm actually always surprised when you look at a recently promoted team and you're looking at all these aspects, and this is not an exhaustive list. I know there are other ways that you could probably think of. But I always get surprised when I watch a team like Magesi, which I did. I sort of watched, their goals. I watched, their one goal that they scored, and the kind of goals that they ship in, and a lot of what you see there is just a carelessness at the back. I think what we're going to see is we're going to be able to go through them. And that's a shame to be saying about a small, recently promoted team. No disrespect to Magesi, but I think it's a shame the kind of goals that they concede. But even the goal that they scored for them, you kind of just see that, I think they are painfully lacking in the way of quality going forward. It's just a scrambled goal. They also got it against Golden Arrows in the game that they won. But even in that game, I do feel that they were so fortunate to come against a Golden Arrows, which is quite daft. I think they're also quite below par as well, golden arrows. They squandered a lot of chances that you do think that a bit of quality, they would have won that game, but they failed to. And, Magesi got their scrambled goal with a set piece sort of box, in a ball in the box, someone puts a foot on it, and then the goalkeeper of Golden Arrows, he absolute shambles, and then the ball just creeps into the back of the net, and that's a result for Magesi. Good for them. I'm happy for them. They could get a 3 points. They've got 4 now on the points tally, which puts them 12th in the league. But yeah, there's really no threat to Magesi. I mean, when I think about Magesi at the moment, and I'm thinking the most threatening player for them, it looks like, is Sekgotha. And I think to be able to say that is telling of how not good that team is if Sekgotha is the best player there. And that's just the honest truth. This is not me being nasty or anything like that. But yeah, anyway, like I said, I really want to talk about, sort of squad, look at the squad, how we, Orlando Pirates, are going to approach this or could possibly approach this one. And something I was thinking is, I wonder, in the thought of, the head coach, Jose Rivero, what kind of scenario that he's sort of painting. And one of the scenario I was wondering whether, he's painting sort of in his mind going into this game. And of course, there's a lot of things that get said, which don't need me to sit here and reiterate. We've heard it. These are the games where, they could produce a shocker, that sort of thing. Motivation for Magesi could be high. Motivation for Pirates could be low. These are the tough games. You want to make sure that, you're concentrated, and so forth and so forth. We know all that talk. The players know it. Everyone knows it. I don't need to repeat it for you. But I think, a scenario that I am thinking about, whether it's in the mind of the head coach, is whether he's saying to himself, you know what, how do I best have my team, Orlando Pirates, motivated for this game? And one of the things I wonder if he's thinking is, does he pull players like Patrick Maswanganyi and rest them? Does he pull people like, the starters, the constant starters, Patrick Maswanganyi? I know we don't have Talent Mbata due to injury. We don't have Olisanda because of injury as well. Is this a game where he's now thinking about the best way to keep the squad motivated? And part of the exercise that I was kind of giving myself is to say, okay, which players do I think it would best, how are we best motivated going for this game? Which players would it do them a world of good to play this particular game, so that when we play in 2 days' time in the league, or in 3 days' time, I think we're playing on Tuesday, the motivation is high, fitness levels are high. If I'm maybe, Jose Rivero, how am I approaching this one? And I'm trying to think of the scenarios which, he's also trying to think about with a 39-man squad, or maybe less than that, with all the injuries. And he's thinking through, okay, who do I play in this position? And I mean, starting at goalkeeper, I think that one is a position where a lot of the time you don't have to concern yourself with those things. Probably play Sipho Shane, and there's no compelling reason why not to. I do guess that you could play Melusi Buthelezi, just so you make the rest of the squad feel involved in that way. But obviously there's something to say about whether Melusi Buthelezi is a great ball-playing goalkeeper and all of that talk. But also I think the quality of the game, quality of opposition might allow you to compromise a bit of sort of your ball playing and still get away with it. And that would be something that I wonder if Jose Rivero will be saying, because something I realize he also talks about a lot now is, well, he talks about it all the time, is the group. But in saying that, I know that he's not someone who will compromise his starting 11 just to keep this or that player happy and that sort of thing. But I wonder if in his mind he's thinking that it's going to take much more than tactics. It's going to take a unity. It's going to take a oneness. It's going to take a lot of players feeling a part of it. It's going to take when players have to come in and replace this or that player. The gap in terms of fitness and those things is not so much, but also they feel like they've been a part of this journey as well. And so maybe he's thinking, let's allow Buthelezi to be able to feel like he's a part of this. Let's give Buthelezi this as his competition so that when Orlando Pirates stands on that podium at the end of the Carling Cup, Buthelezi feels like I brought this medal to the club. I wonder if he's thinking like that. And so, I'm thinking, does he go with Buthelezi, and with also going sort of to left back, there's been an international break. I'm actually quite embarrassed that I don't know if Hotto participated for Namibia in this international break or whether or not they were even playing. But we know that he's an international. If they were playing, Hotto will have been involved. Is he fit? Because some of the arguments that I see on social media, things like that, is to say, hey, this Magesi game, some players haven't played in 14 days. Let's play our best team. Don't be arresting players, all of that stuff. Some of these players have been playing internationally as well, so you could allow a break for some of them and bring them back on Tuesday when we play again, and put in some players that are desperately needing of fitness in a game where really I do think because of the quality of it, you can get away with, playing sort of a secondary team. But I do think that, yes, we talk about Magesi is going to be very motivated. They're going to give us a challenge. But I do think there's a scenario in which the head coach is thinking there must be some fire under Paseka Mako if he's fit to want to prove that he wants to get back into that left back position. So I wonder if the coach is then mentally thinking, maybe let me play Marco in this game because I can back for his motivation to be higher than Hotto's in this particular game. Because for Hotto, it's just a Magesi game. But for Marco, it's a scenario where it's like, I could get my fitness up and I could prove that I'm still valuable to this team. And going all around the pitch, I want to make the same arguments. I mean, you go to right back, you could make the sort of the argument to say, maybe Munyani might be one you want to play because he feels that competition from Dino van Rooyen. Going into midfield, I wonder if the head coach, I don't wonder, I know for sure he will have heard, some of the things that were said by Miguel Tim on his radio interview, and quite out determined, and he wants to prove his worth to the team, and maybe he's thinking, let me give him this game so that he doesn't feel like he's so far down the pecking order, but I can back that he's got some fire under his behind to want to prove that, especially with the absence of talent Mbata right now, Tim will want to prove, how valuable he is to Orlando Pirates. And, also looking at the fact that people like Tim, they're 30 and that sort of thing. So obviously he's got the experience, but he knows he's not got a long time left. He's going to be very responsible with opportunities. He's not going to mess with them. You can trust that when he gets in and he plays for Orlando Pirates in that one game that he feels that this is his opportunity, he's going to make sure he's not making silly mistakes. He's not overly trying to prove, that he's valuable. He's going to be very responsible. And so I wonder if that's the thought process with the squad and, rotating players and that sort of thing. Thinking that, the second team, and I'm loosely calling it the second team, but the players that haven't been starting for us, they're going to have a lot of fire for this, just to prove their point. And maybe because this is a low motivation game, typically for a team like Orlando Pirates to play against Magesi, maybe you want to play the players that haven't been playing because they're going to be very motivated. And so that kind of makes up for, what we might see where you're playing Boma Swangani, who might not pitch in this game, and suddenly we've got a tough game on our hands. But I do think that, having said that, I do think that you obviously bring them, you travel with them, you travel with your best players, you travel with Mofokeng. Do you play Gilberto and maybe rest Mofokeng? That kind of a thing. I really do think it's something that, a scenario that the head coach will be thinking about up front, maybe play Mahopa instead of Tsogfatso Mabasa. Or maybe you play Mabasa because you're thinking he desperately needs to get going with the goals. Maybe the motivation for him. But what I can see is that Jose Rivero will know this better than I do. And why shouldn't he? He works with these players every day. He's also got the qualifications to know these things. I'm just a guy on YouTube talking about these things. He will know better. And the most impressive thing these days is that I can trust that whatever he goes for will be the right decision, or at least close to the right decision than my view of these things. But I do predict, here's my prediction, having said all of that, I do predict that we're going to see a wholesale of changes. We're going to see some starters, but I do, especially maybe centre-back, I think we'll see people like Sasani alongside maybe Nkosinathi Sibisi, I think at left-back. In fact, I wonder if we might see Maela at centre-back alongside Sasani, and then maybe gradually getting Sibisi, playing on Tuesday, maybe that sort of thing. And then at left-back, I think we'll see Dion Hotto and Dino van Rooyen at right back just to have a bit of stability. In midfield, I foresee Tim playing. I think Tim is going to play in midfield. Maybe he plays with Rasiboucha. I know that's a bit of it's a bit of a huge shout for me. But I think he's going to play Tim and Rasiboucha. He might rest Lamini and Makaula. I think at left wing, he probably goes with Relebogile Mofokeng. And then at right wing, I think we're going to see Gilberto. Up front, we're going to see Mahopa. And at 10, we see Kim Vwidi. That's how I think the Mighty Bucks are going to line up. Let me leave it here. Up the Mighty Bucks. Cheers. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video from Talking Buccaneers. If you did, please hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all our future content.